Did you know that worms can devour nearly half their own weight in food scraps every single day? These tiny eco-warriors are nature's ultimate recycling machine, transforming household waste into black gold for your garden. Intrigued? Then buckle up for today's episode of Don't Do This Guide, because we're diving into the fascinating world of vermicompost. If you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button and clicking the like button if you learned something valuable today. Your support helps our channel grow and spread more eco-friendly tips and hacks. So, what exactly is vermicompost? It's a super-powered, nutrient-rich soil amendment made by worms. Vermicompost is the end product of a process called vermicomposting, or worm composting. We give these worms a cozy home and a steady diet of food scraps, and they do their magic. Their digestive systems produce enzymes and microbes that transform waste into something remarkable. What's left behind are worm castings, packed full of nutrients that plants love. We're talking nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and other essential micronutrients. Vermicompost also improves soil structure, making it lighter, fluffier, and better at holding moisture. This means stronger roots, better access to water, and more resilient plants. Vermicompost is like the holy grail of soil amendments. It's completely natural and organic, with no harsh chemicals or synthetic fertilizers. You can use it on your edible gardens without worrying about harmful residues. Vermicompost has up to 5 times more nitrogen, 7 times more phosphorus, and 11 times more potassium than regular soil. It also contains beneficial microbes that help fight off plant diseases and pests. Vermicompost improves soil structure, making clay soils looser and sandy soils better at retaining moisture. No matter what type of soil you have, vermicompost can make it more plant-friendly. It's a fantastic way to reduce household waste. Instead of sending food scraps to a landfill, you can feed them to your worms and turn them into something beneficial. It's a win-win for you and the environment. Ready to jump on the vermicomposting bandwagon? Great! It's easier than you might think. First, you'll need a worm bin. You can buy one or make one using a plastic storage bin with ventilation holes. Next, bedding. Shredded newspaper, cardboard, or coconut coir all work great. Make sure it's moist but not soaking wet. Now for the stars of the show, the worms. Get composting worms, specifically red wigglers or European night crawlers. Once you've got your bin set up and your worms settled in, it's time to start feeding. Worms love kitchen scraps like fruit and veggie peels, coffee grounds, tea bags, and crushed eggshells. Avoid giving them meat, dairy, or oily foods. Start with a small amount of food scraps and gradually increase as your worm population grows. It's important not to overfeed your worms to avoid problems like fruit flies and unpleasant odors. Keep your bin in a cool, shady spot, and make sure the bedding stays moist. With a little love and care, your worms will reward you with a steady supply of black gold for your garden. Remember, patience is key. Vermicomposting is a gradual process, but the results are worth it. Monitor your bin regularly to ensure everything is running smoothly. Adjust feeding and moisture levels as needed to keep your worms happy. Enjoy the benefits of your eco-friendly composting system. How do these composting champions transform kitchen scraps into something beneficial? It all comes down to their amazing digestive system. As worms eat, they grind up the food with a muscular structure called a gizzard. Their gut is home to a whole ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms. These helpers release enzymes that break down complex organic molecules into simpler compounds. The worms are like tiny composting factories, and the microbes are the hard-working employees. As food travels through the worm's digestive system, it gets coated with beneficial microbes and enzymes. What comes out the other end, those precious worm castings, are full of beneficial microorganisms and nutrients. The worms also improve soil structure by creating air pockets that enhance aeration and drainage. This allows plant roots to grow deeper and access more nutrients and water. So, next time you see a worm, think of it as a tiny composting machine. These creatures work tirelessly to transform waste into something valuable for our gardens. Appreciate the incredible role they play in nature's recycling process. Keeping your worm bin happy and healthy is surprisingly low maintenance. Moisture is key. Worms need a moist environment to breathe, but too much moisture can create anaerobic conditions. Aim for bedding that's as moist as a wrung-out sponge. Temperature is also important. Worms are happiest between 55 and 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep your bin away from direct sunlight and extreme temperatures. Feeding time. Start with small amounts of food scraps and gradually increase as your worm population grows. It's better to underfeed than overfeed. No meat, dairy, or oily foods. Check your bin regularly for any signs of trouble. Are there fruit flies buzzing around? You might be overfeeding. Does the bin smell like ammonia? It might be too wet. Adjust your care routine as needed to keep your worms happy and healthy. Vermicomposting is straightforward, but even seasoned pros make mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes is overfeeding. Resist the urge to give your worms a mountain of food scraps. Overfeeding can attract pests, create unpleasant odors, and harm your worms. Start slow and gradually increase the amount of food as your worm population grows. Using the wrong type of bedding is another common mistake. Avoid glossy paper, it doesn't break down easily. Stick to shredded newspaper, cardboard, or coconut coir. Temperature troubles can also spell disaster. Keep your bin in a cool, shady spot. Avoid placing it in direct sunlight or near heat sources. Moisture mishaps are another common pitfall. Aim for bedding that's as moist as a wrung-out sponge. If it's too wet, add more dry bedding. If it's too dry, mist it with water. Don't forget about your worms. They need oxygen to survive, so ensure your bin has adequate ventilation. Drill holes in the lid and sides of the bin for fresh air. Regularly monitor your bin and make adjustments as needed. Learn from your mistakes and keep improving your vermicomposting skills. It's harvest time. After weeks of feeding your worms, you're eager to get that precious black gold. Finished vermicompost looks like dark, crumbly soil and has a sweet, earthy aroma. You shouldn't see any recognizable food scraps, and most of the bedding should be broken down. One easy harvesting method is the dump and sort method. Dump the contents of your bin onto a plastic sheet in a well-lit area. Worms are light sensitive, so they'll burrow down into the compost to escape the light. Gently scoop off the top layer of finished vermicompost. Repeat until you've collected most of the vermicompost, leaving the worms and some bedding in the bin. Another method is to use a worm screen, which allows vermicompost to fall through while keeping the worms contained. Once harvested, use your vermicompost right away or store it in a cool, dry place for later use. Now for the moment of truth, using your homemade vermicompost to give your plants a boost. One of the easiest ways to use vermicompost is as a top dressing. Sprinkle a layer around the base of your plants, gently working it into the top inch or two of soil. This provides a slow release of nutrients directly to the root zone. You can also mix vermicompost into your potting soil when starting seeds or transplanting seedlings. A good ratio is 1 part vermicompost to 3 parts potting soil. Vermicompost also makes a fantastic liquid fertilizer. Soak a cup in a gallon of water for 24 hours, then strain and use it to water your plants. No matter how you use it, vermicompost improves soil health, boosts plant growth, and reduces your environmental impact. Enjoy the benefits of your eco-friendly composting efforts. Even with the best intentions, things can sometimes go awry with your worm bin. But don't worry, most problems are easily solvable with a few simple adjustments. One common issue is fruit flies. These critters are attracted to overripe food scraps, so avoid overfeeding. Cover food scraps with a layer of dry bedding to deter fruit flies. Unpleasant odors usually mean the bin is too wet, or there's a buildup of uneaten food. Add more dry bedding or remove some food scraps. If worms are trying to escape, the environment might be too hot, cold, or wet. Check and adjust temperature and moisture levels. Pests like ants and mites can be a nuisance. Ensure your bin is properly sealed and free of food scraps on the outside. For mites, sprinkle a layer of diatomaceous earth on top of the bedding. Vermicomposting is a learning process. Experiment and adjust your care routine to keep your worms happy and healthy. Stay patient and persistent, and you'll master the art of vermicomposting. And there you have it, folks. Vermicomposting might seem strange at first, but the results on your plants and the environment are amazing. If you found value in today's episode, hit the like button to show your support. And don't forget to subscribe to Don't Do This Guide for more amazing tips. Got a question or a vermicompost success story? Drop it in the comments section below. I'd love to hear about your experiences and help you troubleshoot any issues. Together we can make a positive impact on our gardens and our environment.